live or live when we recorded it.
Right.
Hopefully you're still live when you're watching it
Yeah, I hope so.
or listening to it. So, Jack, welcome to this is the Cinco episode
Shit.
of recording of Sunset Studio Podcast.
If I would have known, I would have brought margaritas.
Ooh, dang it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why didn't I didn't, you can see I do not plan very well for some of these
hit
things.
pause. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Oh man, maybe when you're the fifth guest or the fifth time you're on here
Gotcha,
as a
then,
guest,
okay.
then we'll
Yeah.
really have a fun.
Yeah, like a Five Timers
Fiesta.
Club for the Saturday Night Live.
Yeah,
right?
like Five Timers Club for
Yeah.
Saturday Night Live. The Cinco club member.
Cinco de Podcasto.
Cinco de Podcasto. All right. So, Jack, I'm glad you're here.
Appreciate it.
First and foremost, let me just say you've got an amazing podcast voice. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if people like email in or comment in, hey, can we have Jack back? He's way better than Brandon.
So, yeah, I went to radio broadcast school in the 90s. So out of high school, I was not originally a college-bound person. And speaking of Saturday Night Live, that was kind of always a dream to head to that. I lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is a far cry from Chicago, and
Sure.
The scene up there that, a lot of the Saturday Night Live people came from, so I kind of took a different route and was going radio broadcasting.
All right, I'm gonna stop us right here for a second. Who is the era of Saturday Night Live cast members for you?
Okay, so it is typically in your high school era, right? And
Sure.
so for me, that's the Dana Carvey and
Okay.
Mike Myers and and kind of even later towards that, the Sandlers and those guys. But yeah, the Wayne's World, that hit like my junior year in high school. So that was just like right between the eyes, kind of perfect timing for me.
So yeah, Wayne's World, and that's like the rebirth of Queen almost.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right?
So I was a band kid, right?
Okay.
And so yeah, the band director had to go to the office to talk to them for whatever. Anyway, left 60 kids unattended, and so we sang Bohemian Rhapsody in band. Of course, it's right after
What fun memories.
Yeah,
then.
one of the core memories,
Yeah.
that stuck. So yeah.
Okay, so you broadcast school.
Yeah.
And did you stick with it?
I did not. I don't stick with a lot of things in my life. I kind of hyper focus on certain things, and then kind of after a while move on. I found out later in my life that is ADHD. So
okay.
yeah. So hyper focus for a short period of time, and then move on. Yeah.
Interesting.
But it also wasn't necessarily a great career path, right? So,
well, going in back to broadcast school.
Yeah.
How long were you in it?
So it's like 9 months long. And then, kind of by the time I was finishing up with that and would have started looking for work, life had changed and stuff. And, so I just had to find a better paying, more stable job than something in the entertainment industry.
So didn't really do much with it.
No, did the school. That's it.
So you have no understanding of how poor I'm doing with this whole podcast.
No, you're doing great, man. So from my limited experience 30 years ago, you're doing an amazing job.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just making it up as I go along. It's super fun.
That's all you can do.
All right. So I've come to know you through a wonderful community here in Huntsville called Team Rocket Tri Club.
Correct.
And how long have you been part of that organization?
So since 2021. So in 2021, I started cycling and running and stuff for fitness. I had bariatric surgery in April of 2021 and started losing weight. And
During COVID.
during COVID, yeah. Yeah.
And okay, so I don't know too much about bariatric surgery, but that's where they do something to your stomach,
Yeah.
correct?
So this one, so I'd gotten up to about, well, 365 was the largest that I saw on largest number I saw on a scale.
Okay.
There was a period of time that I just quit getting on a scale, right? So I think it was probably up to 380, 385 max, right?
And you're
6 foot.
6 foot even.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's two people
Yeah, that's a lot.
in normal
Yeah,
circumstances.
for sure. And yeah, so with COVID, well, so at the end of 2019 to 2020, my wife and I were on a band trip. We're always chaperone the kids and stuff like that.
Okay. I'm gonna pause right here.
Yeah.
Once a band geek, always a band geek.
Yeah, pretty much.
What instrument did you play?
So I ADHD as well, right? So I started off in trombone, switched to tuba, and then my junior year I went to a new high school, and they said, "What do you play?" I said, "I'm a drummer."
Oh,
and so I was kind of a self-taught drummer, and I fake it till I make it. And
do you still play?
I play around.
Okay.
Yeah. So when my kids picked up band, I played a little bit with them. Have grandson at home now, so we have practice pad and keyboard and glockenspiel and all that stuff that that we're playing with him. So
all right, let's diverge back
to
into
that. So yeah, we were on a band trip to Tampa, chaperoning, and we just progressively, put on weight. And that trip was really just, it was too much for us. The amount of walking and time and stuff like that, it was too much for the size that we had gotten to. Yeah. Yeah. Even just, so the last day, the kids marched the halftime show at, one of the bowl games. It was at Tampa Bay Stadium, right? And so the long walk back to the bus was just excruciating for me and the wife. This is after 6 days of being, 18-hour days and stuff. And in that last walk, we were just like, we just can't do this anymore, right?
That was a defining moment where you said something's
got to change. And then COVID happened and we locked down, right? And then they start saying comorbidities. Obesity, right? High blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, all these things that we had are just.
Did that scare?
Oh yeah. I mean, it was crazy. Yeah. And, we had both tried diets, tried Atkins and tried, no carb and paleo and here's this little tray that's only 100 calories and you can have up to 6 of them a day. And, and none of it really worked. And so for us, we were like, we had some friends that.
Okay. So over what period of time?
I mean, all our adult lives, you know.
And you're at what age are you at 2021? If you don't mind.
No, yeah, that. 46.
46. Okay.
Yeah. So, it was just one of those things that we're like, we've got to make a drastic change, right?
Was there ever a moment where you can look back saying, hey, this is where we started to go off a good healthy diet, or maybe you've always had a healthy diet and it was something else. I don't know.
Portion control was always it.
Portion control.
Right. We love food. Kind of fat and happy type thing, we celebrate things with food. We, comfort things with food. My wife is an amazing cook and I'm an amazing eater, and so, and we just love snacks, right?
Amazing cook, amazing eater.
Yeah, it's a tough
combination, right there.
Exactly. But also when two people are struggling, and this is with any addiction or whatever, it's really easy for one person to pull the other one off the wagon.
Yeah.
Right. And so for us, I would be doing great and she would have a rough day, and she would come home and she would want ice cream. Well, I'm not going to turn down ice cream,
Yeah. Got it.
right? And
Yeah.
so it's just easy. And then, well, okay, we'll get back on it tomorrow. Well, we'll get back on it Monday. Well, we'll get back on it next month. Well, January's almost here. That's the time to, and so
Right.
it's just it's easy to get into that cycle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we needed something to get us on top of it, right? And so for us, we took the bariatric surgery route. We both did it.
Okay. Now what is that like? Because
Yeah.
I've only seen, and I'm sure the concepts that I have in my head of what it is probably fused with, something else. I've seen where some people get like a band, some people get like, I think, stomach removed.
So they don't really do the band so much anymore. They do the bypass is the one that you heard of a lot,
Yeah.
and that's where they would kind of replumb you and kind of bypass the stomach.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. For us, we did what's called vertical gastric sleeve, and essentially they leave all the plumbing intact and remove 2/3 of your stomach. Right.
Okay.
So the stomach shape, right? Now ours is more of a banana shape.
Now and I don't know much about this, so this is why I'm asking all the questions. Does a stomach tend to expand?
It can re-expand. So that's the thing is, so when you first have the surgery, obviously with anything, there's going to be inflammation. So your small stomach is even smaller because it's swollen.
Yeah.
Right. So you really have to go very, very slow back into, you start off all liquids, and then you start introducing some, you can do scrambled egg and that kind of stuff, so you start reintroducing some food. Of course, during this time, you're in a major calorie deficit. So you're really shedding weight quick. Right.
Do you feel the impact of energy at that point, or the lack of energy? Or
so surprisingly for me, it was like power pellet, right? So it was, Mario hitting a mushroom and, and I immediate change, right? So part of that, the doctor said, walk 3 times a week for 30 minutes. And the neighborhood we lived in, if we walked the perimeter of the streets, it was like exactly 1 mile, driveway to driveway. Right. So then it was like, oh, let's try to do a whole loop in our 30 minutes, And then I was like, okay, well, we did that. Let's try doing a loop and a half, and, we'll cut down this cul-de-sac. And I just kind of felt so good, from this.
Did your decision to have this surgery, was it one of you and your spouse's considerations, or did a doctor come in and say something's got to change? Or was it just kind of
every time we went to the doctor said, you have high blood pressure, you have type 2 diabetes, you have this, you need to lose weight.
Oh, so you had type 2 diabetes.
Yeah. Okay. I had type 2 diabetes, sleep apnea, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, taking a pile of pills, daily just to maintain all that. But yeah, and we got to a breaking point where we were like, we've got to do something. And this was still kind of before the Ozempic GLP shots that are popular now.
Today, yeah.
Had those been available to us then, we probably would have tried that before something as drastic as the shot. But or as the surgery. But for us, this was kind of the last grasp straw, at a straw for us.
365, 388. I'm 6'1".
Right.
And I mean, when we stand next to each other, you're a thin man.
Yeah. Now I'm, and it's kind of funny because I joined the National Guard when I was in high school. Actually, I went to basic training between my junior and senior year in high school, but I had to have a waiver to get into the Army because I was too skinny. So
Oh,
The minimum standard was 140 pounds. I weighed 130. So this was at 17, 6 foot tall, 130. Yeah.
okay.
So they were like, no problem. That's an easy waiver. They'll beef you up a little bit. But yeah, I was kind of one extreme and went to the other.
What has been your favorite thing about this transition that's happened to you?
So my wife and I talk about this a lot, right?
Yeah.
Because we're able to do so much. I love to do stuff,
Yeah.
Um, collecting stuff is always, it's fun to buy something new or whatever, but I like to collect experiences.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So
And so
travel,
yeah,
going to places,
yeah.
doing things that
And
are.
now it's races and free T-shirts from races and stuff.
Were you doing any kind of events or races before
Yeah.
the surgery?
No.
So what motivated you to get into a race or the bicycle? Or
Yeah. So it kind of started. So you remember back in the 80s, Timex had a watch.
Yeah.
That was the Iron Man watch,
Iron Man,
right?
I know it very well. Yeah.
And my dad got me one for Christmas
Okay.
one year. It's either my 7th grade or 8th grade year. And he probably just thought, hey, this is a cool looking digital watch, right? Digital watches were pretty. Yeah,
it was.
It was. Yeah. I really kind of want to go get one now. But with it was a little booklet about Iron Man. And that was the first time I'd ever heard of it, right? I've heard of the Tour de France because ABC Wild World of Sports, it's on one of those things that you see when there's only 4 channels, right?
Bob Costas
Exactly
announcing it.
Yeah. But I'd never heard of something like Iron Man, until I read that booklet. And then obviously I started seeing it. And so it was kind of always in the back of my head of, that's a cool thing, ride 2.4 or swim 2.4 miles, ride 112, then run a marathon. A lot of people, the stories of the marathon and then he died,
Yeah.
So, and that's a third of this, that's at the end of this, this crazy thing. And so I was like, man, that's awesome. But that's something that other people do. Right.
Right.
And so whenever I started losing weight, we're walking that loop, and then I was like, I'm just going to download Couch to 5K again. I've done it multiple times, right?
Okay.
Or I've started it multiple times, right? And never got to a point where I ran a 5K.
That's just an app.
It's
on your
just
phone,
an app
right?
that, it's a run walk. We're gonna run for 30 seconds and walk for 90 seconds, and then the next time it's run for 45. You know,
great little motivator.
Exactly, and it's in your ear, and it tells you when to run and when to walk, and you don't have to think about it or anything like that, right? And at the end of it, you should be able to run a 5K. And I kind of started it, and I just kept going, and then now I'm running 4 times a week and this kind of stuff, and I'm like, I want to sign up for a 5K and and see what that's like, and kind of it's still in the back of my head was like, remember that watch, that Iron Man thing. And so
Timex planted a seed
exactly
way back yonder.
It just took them 25 years, but they finally got my money. But yeah, and so my surgery was in April of 2021.
Okay.
And in May, I ran, air quotes, my first 5K.
Wait, so April, and then in May,
beginning of April to end of May. So like 6 weeks.
How invasive is that surgery? Is it like
for most people it's outpatient.
Okay.
I had a hernia from a gallbladder repair that was causing issues too, so they kept me overnight. So it's not super invasive. I mean, it's a laparoscopic thing.
Okay.
But I mean, you're up and moving around pretty quick, right?
Okay.
So, and that first 5K, I was like, I want to run to the halfway point. right?
Yeah.
And so that was the goal on that, right?
But
So
you did the whole thing.
I did the whole thing.
Did you run the whole thing?
No,
or did
I
you
ran to halfway and then walked around on the way back.
That's great.
Yeah. And so from that, I was like, man, this is awesome. You know, I get a shirt. I joke about the free t-shirt because I call it a free t-shirt. My wife is like, it's not free, right?
Paid for it.
You paid for it. And I was
Right.
like, no, I paid for the race. The shirt's free.
That's a good way to think about that. Yeah.
Exactly. And so I was like, I look into a triathlon. And so that's when I first got introduced.
That just popped into your head.
Of course. Yeah. I mean,
no friends or no one nudged you.
No,
okay.
I'm a turn it up to 11 right off the bat kind of guy.
Okay.
Right. Again, the ADHD, the hyperfixation on these things. But yeah, so that surgery was in April. First 5K was in May. And I did Tri-for-All Glory July 4th weekend.
Wow.
So
that is a run, bike, run.
Well, it was run, bike, swim.
Or run, bike, swim. That's right.
So reverse order. But mountain bike. And I had not ridden a bike on a trail since I was like 12 years old.
Right. And it's not hard. It's just sketchy all over the place.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Like it's twisty and turny, and then there's weird roots.
Right. Yeah. And it was my wife's bike. So I had bought her, you know, it was a Gary Fisher, kind of a hybrid-ish mountain bike. It had knobby tires, but it was really kind of a cruiser.
So that year we had Tri-for-All Glory.
That was the last year of it.
2021?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I'm surprised we had that in the, oh no, I guess everything was coming back from COVID. Yep. I recall that now. Yeah, that was oh man, there's some races I signed up for in 2020, and I had been training and it got canceled. And
right.
Then they deferred it 6 months later, and that got canceled. And then I was in like a perpetual state of training.
Yeah.
But the cool thing on that, I was doing a thing where I had to run a little bit, and I hadn't been running, and you know that when I actually downloaded this little training app that talked to me when I was doing it, because like I'm not a fun runner. I think about all the things I want to be doing other than running. But anyway, I downloaded this app, and the coach kind of came on, and he said, "All right, welcome to this training app. You hit the play button, and you're recording your run. I want to tell you, you're running too fast. Slow down." And I was just like, "What?" And it was just like, slow down.
Right.
And so your couch to 5K is great because you did exactly what you should have done. It's just like, hey, let me run to this point and just walk it in.
Right.
There's nothing wrong. If you're trying to get back into a regiment and a routine, it's okay to be slow. You probably can recall where you used to be, and that's great, but you're not there anymore.
Right.
You got to kind of start again, and you can get there fast, but start slower.
Right.
Stay slow.
Yeah.
And that was the best advice. I still, anytime I run now, I'm like, oh, I got to go run. I want to get done in this amount of time. And it's like, no, run slow.
Right. Yeah. And there were plenty of times that really I was probably running slower than I would be walking, but I was doing that shuffle and I was bouncing my shoulders and I was still running, right?
Creating that form in your mind.
Exactly.
You know where you're going to be.
And training the brain, right? That's part of it.
Yeah.
Because the muscles and the cardio and all that stuff, that's one thing, but you really have to train the brain as part of it.
You're not going to get through anything unless you're mentally firing on all cylinders.
Right.
All right. So couch 5K, then you did, what was after?
Ran the first 5K.
Run the first 5K.
Yep. And did Tri-for-All Glory. I ran that whole 5K. That was my first 5K complete, but it was run at the beginning, which was nice. So But
And
yeah,
now,
that was the first time
how
I
did you hear about
just
Trifro
Google,
Glory? Just Googled it. Okay.
Google, triathlons near me and found
How was
Team
the
Rocket.
swim in?
So that was fine. I mean, I grew up in Boy Scouts and stuff like
Okay.
that. So I did the mile swim once when I was never in a swim team or anything like that, but I'm very comfortable in the water,
Okay.
And so that was one that even though it was open water, you could stand up in the middle,
touch
right?
the bottom.
Yeah. So, I did one time, do that. And so it went all right. I finished. I was not dead last.
How did you feel finishing?
It felt great.
Yeah.
It felt really good. Yeah. I knew it was something. It was going to be my next my next addiction. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, not the mountain bike part though.
Yeah, that can be challenging. I don't think it was wet that year. It's really bad.
Yeah.
When it's a little wet and slimy out there.
I kind of hate that it went away, but it's okay.
There's always red tape and bureaucracy somewhere that slows things down and stuff like that. But
yeah.
All right. What was your next?
So
you it sounds like you're kind of catching the bug at this point.
Yeah, then I was off to the races, right?
So you finished Trifo Glory and you recover a little bit and you
really just kind of go right into it.
You go right into it.
Yeah. I mean,
what'd you go into?
So that's when I started riding sunset cruises with you guys.
Okay.
I had a Cannondale R300 with the shifters on the down tube.
Nice.
Yeah. And there's one time I remember you riding up next to me and you're like, so I've seen you here a couple times. How's it going? And he said, that's a pretty cool bike. He said, if you ever think about upgrading, let me know, and I knew that, I mean, it was a capable bike. It wasn't what I was going to need, kind of going forward, but it was what I had and perfect.
My first road bike was this teal green down tube shifting Peugeot.
Yeah.
And, I wouldn't be here today without that down tube shifting Peugeot, right?
Yeah.
I saw the cool guys with all the integrated shifting and zipping by me. I'm like, I want to be like those guys. So
yeah,
I get it. I'm right there with you. So
I had as the goal for the season to do the Olympic down the Barrett Robinson down in Orange Beach, right?
Okay.
So that was like late September.
That's also check boxing one of your destination.
Yeah, exactly. Right. That was how I sold it to the wife. I was like, hey, how about we go to the beach for the weekend? It's like, great. I'll get us an Airbnb. We can take the dogs. And
I'll get some exercise.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I'm going to do this little race just on Saturday morning. The rest of the day, we'll have to ourselves. So yeah. But in leading up to that, I did Huntsville Sprint.
Wow. Okay.
So
that's a good one.
Yep. And
so that's a big party. That's a fun one.
That was a lot of fun. And so that one I kind of started seeing some of the Tri Club people, right? And that's when I heard about Tuesday Night Brick. So I started riding that some too. Going out way too hot. I should have backed off a group.
Everybody does.
Should have backed off a group, but I was like, yeah, I could do the Mike's group, which is like a 18 mile an hour, and I did great for the first half. It was the second half that, and there's a few times that Mike stayed behind, but I'm like, listen, I work out here. I'm fine. Y'all go on without me,
Yeah, that's always humbling, but it's also the carrot.
Yeah, for sure.
You're like, okay, I rode with these guys at this speed for 10 miles.
Right.
You come back the next week and you're like, all right, let me go 11 miles.
Yep, exactly.
And you've improved. And I think that's the important part of, any event that you do, running, swimming, and piano. Can you perform or do just a little bit better?
A little bit better. Yep.
That's awesome.
And so I wasn't going to do Rocket Man that year because I was like, there's no way I'm going to be up to an Olympic by then.
And that, okay, I'm losing track of years.
Yeah, last year of ditto.
Okay.
Yeah. So, um, so or maybe next to last year. You took over in 23.
23.
So yeah, this would have been 2 years before then. So yeah, last couple years of ditto. It was the year where we had a lot of rain and they had shortened the swim, but the current was kicking that day. Yeah. Whew, that was a whole nother experience. But anyway, they said about a week before, they sent out an email and they're like, "Hey, we have spots open if you're thinking about it." And I'm like, "Yes, free shirt." So signed up and did it. And
oh man, I love this free shirt. You're a free shirt kind of guy. Huh?
So you know, a lot of people give flack about participation trophies and stuff. I'm here for it. Right. Just about every single day for the past 4 or 5 years, I've worn a race shirt. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very rarely on a podium. If there's enough categories and enough age groups, so Clydesdale, age 45 to 50, balding guys with big beards, I'm on the podium, right? So if you put enough categories in, I can be a winner. But otherwise, having that medal and having that shirt for someone like me, that's
all right. We need to establish for you, just from this point on, clean bill of health.
Yeah.
Positive attitude. Just normalized training. Nothing grandiose. You have a good shot of when you get into, you know, the legend
I'm gonna
category. You've just outlived everybody.
Exactly. That's
and then
it.
you're just gonna podium.
I'm gonna kill it in the 85 to 90 category. Yeah. Exactly.
It's a solid plan there.
Yeah. So that first year ran a 5K, 2 sprints, 2 Olympics.
Wow.
So I really go
jump into the deep end, don't you?
Yeah, my poor wife.
I don't think I've ever heard of somebody jumping in that big and that deep so quickly. That's amazing. That's powerful.
It just, like, I just kept feeling like, what else can I do? Right?
What's the hook that kept you coming back for more?
I was shedding just a lot of weight, right? So, prior to the surgery, I mean, I didn't go in on surgery day weighing 365, right? I was down a good amount because you're on a liquid diet for a couple months before and that kind of stuff. But when I raced the Brett Robinson in September, so we're talking 5 months after the surgery, I was down almost 100 pounds already to that point, wow. Right? And so, I mean, imagine just, you know, carry an extra 100 pounds of weight around during the day. You know, it's why baseball players, you know, put the weight on their bat and swing it around and then knock the weight off, right? I just felt like I was flying because I was carrying so much less weight.
Is there anything you miss about old Jack?
No.
Can I call him Fat Jack?
Yeah.
Do you miss Fat Jack?
Yeah, Fat Jack's still in there.
Oh,
right?
Is he?
Oh, yeah. Fat Jack tells me I can shorten this swim, or I don't have to run 4 times this week. I can run 3 times this week and still be okay, or maybe a little Skittles is okay.
Does Try Jack come out and say, "Hey, Fat Jack"?
No, I mean they still battle each other, and it's not 50-50, but you know. Yeah, there's still that inner voice, you know.
And that's, I mean, I got to say, I'm challenged sometimes.
For sure. I mean,
I get done with work and I know, like, hey, I have this event coming up, or I need to at least be this consistent with my writing or whatever. I'm zonked. I'm pooped. I'd rather sit on the couch and eat a pizza.
Right. My wife hasn't forgot to cook over the past 4 or 5 years.
Of course.
And I haven't forgot how to eat.
Maybe I can somehow, you know, when she's cooked too much, or she's cooked stuff that's really not in your dietary plan for
Yeah,
training, you could give me a
just
call.
give you a call.
Yeah,
and,
I'd
and
be
you'll be the
more than willing
okay
to come over and, you know, at least be a test
for sure.
subject,
Yeah,
taste tester.
I've got you.
Will.
Yeah, you have to fight Madison traffic though.
I'll be happy to.
Okay,
I mean,
all right. A lot of people won't. Yeah.
well, what's you know what? Let's go to some pictures real quick, Evan. So let's let's go to the very first picture. So tell me about this guy right here.
Yep. So that's Rocket Man, right? And you'll notice that that's not a Cannondale R300.
No, that's what you're on a felt.
That is a felt B14 picked up for $600 and picked it up like 3 days before Rocket Man.
No way.
Yeah. So the thing is nothing new on race day, but if you've never raced it, everything's new. So you can throw a brand new bike in it,
That's
right?
a great mentality, I think.
For sure.
In a lot of ways.
And those tires were probably original to the bike, and I probably shouldn't have been riding them on that day, but you know what? YOLO it.
But look at that guy.
Yeah.
That's a happy guy right there.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And so that was Rocket Man. It was after surviving the swim, getting out on the bike, and getting ready to try 25 miles of some hills.
Yeah, that Ditto landing course is not a easy one on Hobbs Island Road. That's got some rollers.
And I didn't have to walk any of it. So
wow.
Yeah, I rode the whole thing. And made it through.
That's very impressive. All right, what's this next one we got? Oh, so this is a great side by side here. This is a before and after.
Exactly.
So there's you, and I see it looks like a Bob Jones high school band.
Yep. And so I again with the band dad, I was the logistics coordinator. Mm-hmm. I got my CDL so I could drive the semi truck and all that stuff. And I was there. If my kids were going to be there, I was going to be there. And why sit in the stands when you can, stand on the field?
So that looks with you got a little mask going on there. So it looks like we're in knee deep in COVID land. So this is you before the surgery.
Yeah,
for
before
sure.
surgery. Yep.
And then how many, I guess.
So that race, that looks like Tri-Furl Glory. So that would have been July, just a couple months after surgery.
And where do you find these kits? You're already looking pretty awesome.
Yeah, so
these kits.
That's the Amazon special, cheapest kit you can find.
You're rocking. I wish I had when I got this is your second race after your surgery, and you're wearing a kit like that.
Yeah.
Man, I could never find those when I was.
Now you can see why my wife rolls her eyes anytime I say I'm interested in a new.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So new kit for this one, new bike for the next race. Yeah. It spirals.
All right. So I'm going to then ask you about you. When did you do Ironman?
So in 2022, we bought a house. So we never planned to stay in Huntsville past our kids' graduation, right? I've worked in and around NASA for over 20 years.
Okay.
And I was like, we'll be here.
What's wrong with Huntsville,
well, hold
bro?
on. We're going to be here, and then we'll move to Florida. I'll get a job at Kennedy, and we'll have a house on the beach, right? We both love the beach.
Well, I mean, I can see what's wrong with Huntsville when you compare it to beach life, salt life.
But then my oldest daughter, who had moved here with us, found a local boy, got married, right? My stepson moved from North Carolina where he was with his dad back here. So we had 4 of our 6, we're a blended family, 4 of our 6 kids here local, and they were kind of forming roots. So we're like, okay, we're gonna stick around now. So we decided to buy a house. So in 2022 we bought a house, and so I didn't do as much with triathlon that year. I did continue running and did my first half marathon Bridge Street that year, and did Rocket Man that year. But that was it. But towards the end of that, I was like, all right, I want to get back into it. I don't want to, lose this. I had that hot new bike, from 10 years ago that I needed to put some more miles on. And I was like, I want to do an Ironman, and Tulsa was hosting Ironman at that point. They did in 2021, 2, and 2023. And I was like, well, I would like to do a half in 2023 and a full in 2024, right? But then they announced that they didn't have as many people as they liked in Tulsa, and so they were going to not renew the contract. It was a 3-year contract, so it was going to be the end. So I was like, well, okay.
Kind of now or never.
Yeah, so if I'm going to do an Ironman in my hometown, in front of my, family and friends and parents and stuff like that, my parents are getting up there in age. They wouldn't be able to go anywhere else to watch me do it. So I was like,
okay, what is
send.
The reaction when you tell your wife, hey, I signed up to do an Ironman?
Yeah. Well, I didn't pay the money yet, but I said, I'm going to start working out for it. And if I stick with it, then I'm going to want to do it. Right. And then that last year, they were also doing a half. So if I needed to drop down and only do the half, then I could still do the half, but I could, still do something. But, so yeah, training started at beginning of November, and all indoors, and
But what was her reaction? Is she's like, here's another kick you're on.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly it. But she's also extremely supportive, right? I mean, she knows that just the kind of stuff that I had done up to this point was something that neither of us thought, I could do. Right. Yeah. And so if I believe that I can do it, then she believes in me. And
it sounds like she was your biggest
for sure
supporter.
Absolutely.
I love this.
Yeah. Always.
What was the most difficult part of this? Is a 2-part question.
Yeah.
What was the most difficult part of training? And then what was the most difficult part during the Ironman itself?
So it was kind of, if I had infinite money, I would have hired a coach, right? And I would have found a nutritionist that because my bariatric nutritionist was like,
oh yeah, they're
not endurance, right?
They're probably
in endurance. They're like, why are you wasting your time on protein? Just suck another gel or whatever, and so it would have been great to have a coach, and it would have been great to have a proper nutritionist, and it would have been great to, have more time and that kind of stuff. So it was kind of too much to all take in. So I was like, okay, I know I can go out and run, and I know I can get on the bike and I can pedal, and I know I can go to the pool and swim, and I'm going to concentrate on that and let the other stuff happen, So I bought a $25 training plan on Training Peaks and did my best with it. But really all that did was kind of lay out, do this on this day.
Right.
I didn't know what a fartlek was. There was no way I could do it. I was base building up until, 2 weeks before the race, and so that would have been great. But then the hardest part on race day, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Hardest part on race day was
there's so much going on. It can be so overwhelming.
I made some big mistakes. So my comfort bags on the bike and run, it was a point-to-point swim or bike, I mean.
Yeah.
So I didn't drop them off in the right place. I carried them with me to the start, and they should have been left. Yeah. So I didn't have them. So the nutrition I had was what I could stuff down my kit on race day. And I had some extra considerations that I needed to have. So I needed to have more real food over gels and a couple of protein shakes, throughout the day.
So that's really cool because I think what truly makes somebody Ironman finisher has to do with what happens that goes outside of your training and plan and how you deal with it, how
Right.
you overcome that.
Right. Yeah. Yep. That's a lot.
So you did
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. That. And then I also left my timing chip at home.
Oh.
So that's why. Yeah. The video we'll get to a little later. They don't call my name until the very end. And if you could read the key at the top, it says unknown athlete. Yeah. So
I like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's really nice to be the unknown athlete.
Man, I tell you what. Yeah.
Do you want to watch a clip of it?
Sure.
Yeah, let's throw this up.
Yeah, so June. Okay. I thought it was May, but it was June.
There you are. Awesome.
Comes unknown athlete.
And also, might I add, that's a great looking kit.
Yeah. Yeah, it was I upgraded the kit and I had, what is it? You don't outgrow, what is it when you shrink down, right? So
yeah.
I needed a new kit and they were running a sale on it.
But I see your wife kind of
wife was down there.
Yeah, at the very end. That's awesome.
Yeah. And then, so 16:30 had enough time to watch it.
So you went from basically 5K to Ironman in just about 2 years.
23 months.
23 months.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I did it, right? And that's it interesting enough to have someone interview me in a podcast.
That mentally right now, knowing that about yourself, you probably approach things completely different. Like there's not much I can't accomplish.
So my dad has always said, there's nothing I can't accomplish if I don't put my mind to it, right? I've always been that kid, and again, the ADHD, right? That when I get interested in something, I'm really aptly named Jack of all trades, right? Mm-hmm. I weld, I woodwork, like I said, I did the semi-driving for the band, all that stuff. I do a little bit of just about everything, but also completing basic training at 17 years old was one of those key moments that I was like, okay, there's really not a lot that I can't do. And then that's the other one that I was like, yeah, I really did that. It got rough during the run.
Yeah.
I knew I'd finish. I didn't know if I'd finish in time. Right.
Yeah.
But I did. And
sometimes it's just you thinking about the math. You're thinking about the math the whole time.
Right. Yeah.
What is my pace that I need to be at to finish at this cutoff? And then you just do it. When you mentioned, your dad, one of the questions that I try to always ask in this podcast, and I think it's really fun, is, do you recall when you first learned how to ride a bicycle?
I don't recall learning how to ride a bicycle, but I do remember my first bicycle.
Oh yeah? What was it?
So it was a GTX 99.
Yeah.
So it was white with red accents.
Okay.
Right. Typical BMX bike. Right.
Did you recall the movie Rad?
Oh yeah.
That was.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I rode that bike until it completely fell apart. Actually, I have a couple of scars from it. So remember when you'd ride your bike and you'd come home and you did not put your kickstand down, what did you do? Threw it on the ground.
Yep.
And then what happened to that grip? Right.
Oh, yeah. You get rubbed raw and then expose the handlebar.
It exposed the handlebar, right? So I'm riding.
Did you biopsy yourself?
Twice, right? I have matching circle scars that are ovals now, but yeah, matching circle scars on either side from jumping. Yeah, these neighborhood kids, their dad built like a little mini BMX track on an empty lot in our neighborhood. So I mean, I was out there every day.
And what age was this?
So that was like So we moved to that house in 4th grade through 7th grade. So that,
Yeah.
that perfect time
Yeah.
for that kind of stuff.
That's
Yeah.
super fun.
Yeah.
Do you now you're a dad? Do you recall teaching your kids to
Every
ride?
single one of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Running along with them. Yeah. Love it.
Did one take to it faster than the other, or was it the same kind of?
So um, my youngest, it was always more rough and tumble. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I had
Yeah, I think that's a trait with a lot of either second or third
yeah.
siblings is
Mm-hmm.
they're really eyeballing and copying what the other adult sibling is doing and
Yeah.
or older sibling is doing and they're just mimicking and they have no fear. And
Right.
you're just like, they did it, I can do it too.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah, same thing. Skateboarding, he got a
Firstborn
longboard.
is always a little bit more cautious.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, love it. And now I have a grandson that, I have 3 grandkids. So 2 live in Tulsa.
I think we got some pictures if you don't mind sharing that. I think it like going and we can go back to those pictures here in a second. But
yeah, so that was in May. He was born in February, so that was his first trip on an airplane.
Wow. So your granddad?
Yep, granddad. And so that's my dad back in the very back. Not the red beard, but the white beard, right? And that's my mom next to him. And that's my son-in-law and daughter, my son, my oldest daughter, and my wife Rhonda.
Awesome.
And and so that baby there is Miles, and he's over at the house all the time. And
where is that picture?
So that's in Tulsa.
Tulsa. Okay,
yeah, that's on the run course.
That's on the run. Oh, so
that's
you
during,
isn't that the best when when there's family cheering you on and it just like motivates you?
Man, you want to talk about that motivation and getting that. And then when I handed him back off, they said he cried for me. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, that was great. And he's been to after I did my full, the next year I did a half, and he came to that one too. So he's getting to see Papa do some pretty cool stuff. So
well, one of the pictures that flashed up is a really cool picture of you, I think, riding on the Arsenal.
Yeah.
That's racing the station.
That's racing the station.
Did you beat the station?
I did beat the station.
Dude, nice.
Yeah. Yeah, chasing a monkey this year. Yeah.
But you're on a very cool and special bicycle.
Yeah, this was a step-up bike for me.
Yeah. So, and I think what's great is the story behind it. Is how it came be kind of, in your possession is from David Stankard.
Yes.
And with Team Rocket Tri Club, we created the David Stankard Project. And so, we what's the latest on that?
So it's coming. It's coming very soon.
Should we not talk about that?
No, we can. Yeah,
and your role with Team Rocket Tri Club now is the
marketing communications.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm gonna try to do social media stuff more and try to get the name out there and that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Well, thanks for doing that. That needs to be done because the program of the club is awesome when what they do for the community and
right.
And in a lot of ways, I don't think you would be where you are today without the races and the events that Team Rocket Tri Club does. So it's a fun organization.
Yeah, for sure.
There are a bunch of crazy nutso people who just like to exercise and do races.
All different kinds of stuff.
Maybe every one of them has just like this need for free T-shirts.
I think it really is. I mean, there's a lot to say about a free T-shirt.
So you're kind of doing the marketing and everything, so we should look out for kind of the David Stankard project and what we're going to do with that.
And about that bike. So for those that don't know, David Stankard was a member of Team Rocket Tri, and like me and like a lot of other people, adult onset triathlete, right? So didn't come to triathlon from a swim background or anything like that. Kind of found it in, in his adult age
Yeah.
as a way to be healthy. And he ended up passing away from cancer,
Mm-hmm.
and his wife donated his gear, so two bikes, his trainer, and stuff like that, to
Yeah.
the club to set up this this David Stankard project. And so the by selling these items, we raise some funds, and we're gonna pick like 5 or 6 athletes that are brand new to the sport, and mentor them and sponsor them a little bit, and get them, started in this crazy sport called triathlon.
Because it sounds like, based on your experience, that could have, helped and benefited.
Absolutely, yeah.
You just the nudge in the right direction.
For sure.
So with this bike, this is, I believe, a Quintana Roo PR5. How is it different than that first picture of the felt that we saw?
Yeah. So, I mean, okay, so the scene in Toy Story, the original Toy Story, where Buzz and Woody are trying to get back to the moving bus, and they fire the rocket, and you see Woody, with the wind blow. Yeah, that's how I feel on this thing. I mean, the same relative effort that I was putting out on the felt.
Yeah.
In this, I'm just going, 4 miles an hour faster.
Wow.
And the electronic shifting, I was so reluctant to go to it, just because I was like, well, it's just another thing to go wrong or whatever. But man, it is great? So nice.
It's so awesome.
So nice.
I think every triathlete should do that, because it
for
just
sure
saves so much,
especially on an aero bike, right? Because if you're in the drops, right, and then you have to move your hand up here to shift, or if you're up here, then you have to move your hand down there, and just to have the button in either place, and anytime I want to shift, I'm going to shift, and I don't, and I don't have to think about going from the big ring to the little ring and offset. Just hit the daggum button and keep pedaling.
I think that's sometimes the fun part of some of these events, are the tech, or the gear, or whatever helps kind of motivate you.
Yeah.
When it's fun, and when things are just easy, at least in terms of how they perform and operate, and you're not fighting it, it's kind of fun. It's always fun to get new shoes. It's fun to get new sunglasses.
Yep.
You just think you can
and
go a little bit more.
Transition area, it's like a car show, right? I mean, you've got top of the line carbon, disc wheel, all that stuff, and then you've got this person over here who's still riding with shifters on the down tube, and and pulling past people, and that kind of stuff. And there, you have the classics and you have the new stuff. It's cool.
Well, David Stankard was, man, every time I worked with him, he's just a positive, fun-loving guy.
Yep.
And one thing that I think is great about this bike, now that it's in your hands, is it couldn't be in the more better suitable rider than you, because you're a positive force. I've never not chatted with you and you've had a smile on your face, even when sweat's pouring down.
Yeah.
And you're hating it. You're happy to be there. Do you think, whether it's the sport of tri, or running, or swimming, or biking, or do you think you would be where you are now had it not been for the community and the surrounding?
The community definitely helped, and having there's different groups for different personalities, right? So I'm not a hardcore cyclist, right? So I don't feel as comfortable in that group setting.
You say that now, but then when you pass everybody, you're stepping your game up.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm going to pause you right here, because go to Evan, go to movie, I think 2. Not a hardcore cyclist. Take a look at this speed.
Okay, so I knew they were videoing, right? So it's one of those I'm gonna look good going past, but
You're flying there.
heroes, and then right there, as soon as the video cut off, that's whenever I got back into the drops and poured water on my head. No, yeah, I understand what you mean, but also the dynamic of Peloton cycling compared to the triathlon group I ride in, it's a different mindset, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not used to that, so it's kind of foreign to me. Not saying I would never, right? But I'm less comfortable there than riding with my triathlon friends who are, individual riders who happen to be riding together today, type thing.
That's,
what I mean?
That's also the beauty of anything from cycling to running.
And then we have Sunset too, that, if you want to do a casual, it rained on Tuesday, but I still want to get a workout in. I'm going to go ride Sunset on Wednesday.
There's so many types of bicycles.
Having all those options is great.
And I think that's the beauty of that contraption is there's so many ways to enjoy just scooting on two wheels.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Man, you're fun to chat with about your journey. Have we missed anything that we need to cover or talk about?
So I've done it all in triathlon, right? Multiple sprints, multiple Olympics, half and a full. What's left for me, right? So I'm going to back off. No, really. So I kind of took off like a rocket. And there was a period of time where my journey diverged from Rhonda's, right? And the amount of training I was having to do for the full was kind of, it took over everything, right? Yeah. And so it wasn't conducive for us to do together, right? So after I finished my half last year, I was like, okay, let's go back, couch to 5K for you, and I'm going to run every step with you. And so we have been, right? And we've been doing that and hiking a lot more. And I'm trying to find that amount that can still let me do, like I would like to do a half a year, and then, local races and stuff like that. But, and every now and then a full, but a half a year, I think, is a good, goal to maintain, but then also bring her up. So, we've been running together 4 days a week.
Wow.
And, she has, she did her first 10-mile run 2 weeks ago, working towards, Bridge Street's going to be her first half marathon.
That's great.
And we're trying, next week is the Run Disney registration, so we're gonna,
of course, you have to go to a destination place,
of course,
to get a t-shirt. And
well, that one you get 6 t-shirts if you finish the whole thing. You do a 5K, 10K, half marathon, full, and then you get goofy t-shirt and that's 6 t-shirts.
No one tells me these things. I would have probably signed up years ago.
I know, right? So, but yeah, we're really trying to do this together and make sure that this is a fitness journey that we can do together. So,
well, it sounds like you're kind of her best friend and coach to a degree. I know spouses with one being maybe a coach and one not, that can get dicey, but you've got the experience,
right?
Which you can tell her, hey, you don't have to go fast.
And that's what, and she, she has good days and bad days. Yeah. And on bad days, I'm like, listen, that's part of it. Not every run is going to be better than the previous one. You're going to have times when you feel like you're degrading, but you're not. You're building those muscles. We're in a build phase right now, so it's okay. She'll be ready for Bridge Street.
Well, here's the funny thing, because we're probably coming toward where we should button a few things
right
up. And each podcast, I'm learning kind of new things about how to do things, and hopefully all the videos and things work. But I did not know you you're signing up for a lot of these things just for the t-shirt.
Yeah.
So I have a gift for you.
Okay.
It is a t-shirt.
Does it cost me anything? Or is it a free t-shirt?
This is truly a free t-shirt. I guess what cost you was you coming to be interviewed on this podcast and opening up about your life and sharing all the dirty details about your journey with health. But it's really a free t-shirt.
Excellent.
So I'd love for you to.
Yes.
And it's a large.
Yes.
Is that what we're wearing?
Large is it. Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, 4X down to a large now. So
this is specially made.
Specially made. Look at this. Ask me about Type 2 to Ironman. Then on the back, I had the Sunset Studio logo. Excellent.
So that's just for you.
That is awesome.
I kind of knew what we were going to be talking about, and you mentioned you always wanted a shirt that said that. Yeah.
So that was one of the things leading up to the Ironman. I thought about. I was posting a lot on my social media, but I thought there would be other people that would be interested in this journey, too. And that Type 2 to Ironman was kind of the thing that kept rolling in my head about it. Yeah.
Well, and that's amazing. 23 months from where you were and having to have surgery basically to save your life.
Right.
Losing a whole person.
Yeah.
To, finishing an Ironman distance.
Right. It's crazy.
You got to be proud of yourself on that.
Yeah, I am. And
no one can take that away.
No, not at all. And I had a person come up at the end of year party last year at for the Tri Club, and she was a bariatric patient, and kind of the same thing, started walking after and started running, and she saw the video. I had done a video kind of talking about the race day itself, and she had seen that on the Tri Club page, and she came up and she said, "Hey, I just wanted to say you're an inspiration." I was like, "Wow, it's crazy." I don't think of myself as an inspiration, but it was nice that someone, has heard that story and
you can't discount that.
So.
I remember when I first got into riding, and there was this guy my same age, Danny Hernandez, amazing triathlete, and he was the coolest, and I didn't have a cool bike. I didn't have all the clip-in things. I barely had cycling shorts. I had cotton t-shirts as my jersey. And he had at least in my mind, I thought he had all the things. But he just was a spirit of having fun on the bike and working out. And I remember he invited me to a ride one time. And that was the switch that, like, whoa, I'm not very good. You want me to ride with you? I was like, yeah. And man, he taught me so many things. And having that one person who is your mentor or the person who's your inspiration is, you don't realize you're doing it, but you do.
Right.
So I'm proud of you, man.
Man, I appreciate it. This has been fun.
Yeah. Any last final thoughts or?
I'm looking forward to really opening this thing up this year. I got my professional bike fit. So
yeah, have you had a chance to ride?
Yeah, I've ridden a couple times, and man, it just feels so good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what this bike can do. With these legs behind it. So
we got to check you out this season and see how you do and perform. And at least at some point, I know you'll have 6 Disney shirts
for sure.
So I'm excited for you and Rhonda for that.
Appreciate it.
Jack, thanks for coming out.
Yeah, man. Thanks. It's been fun.
Yeah, awesome. And we'll see you guys next time. I don't know how to end these things, so we're just going to hit the logo out and go from there.
That's a cool shirt.